Too long, didn't read.
Want all the background before committing to reading the whole book?
You're in the right place. Our so approachable TLDR episodes give you a taste of the action without the spoilers.
It'll prepare you for the main discussion. Let's dive in.
All right, guys, we've got a special one for you this week. We are doing Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. That's Sarah Lyles.
And that's Jamie Livingston. Okay, happy birthday.
I got you.
This is absolutely your pick.
Yes.
So tell me why.
Oh my gosh. Hunger Games has my heart. And I had completely forgotten that this book was coming out as we were launching this podcast. And because I've done several news stories about it, because that's my life. And I remember last fall writing a story saying this was coming out. And for some reason, I didn't put it on my calendar. But I got the book shortly after it released on March 18th, 2025, and powered through it. And then I said, Sarah, what do you think?
And I said, happy birthday. I never thought I'd ever pick up a Hunger Games. And it's not that I have anything against them. It's just not usually my thing.
Right. I am just very surprised that you haven't read any of them. You said you have seen the first movie?
Yes.
Just the first one? Oh my gosh.
And what was it that you were joking about, like those under a rock? Well,
yes.
Under a rock, I am.
I don't know how that's possible, but we're going to get into it. So we are going to keep this simple for our TLDR episode, but I think we're going to have to do a deeper dive, even before we go into the book itself, to explain the Hunger Games trilogy so that you may get a little more out of your read if you've been living under a rock and are just going to pick up this book and read it with us for the fun of it.
Well, join me and listen to our bonus episode because it's going to help me actually get some background because, again, I haven't read any of these.
Yeah, so I'm going to read from the back of the book right now to get us in the zone. This is the 5th book in the Hunger Games series. It's another prequel to the main trilogy, bringing us back 24 years before Book 1 to the 50th annual Hunger Games, a quarterquell in which twice as many tributes will be taken than usual. Needless to say, the districts of Panem are beset with fear and anxiety about who will be chosen, though perhaps District 12 resident Hamish Abernathy should be a little more concerned, given that we know he's about to get picked. Indeed, despite a promising relationship with the girl he loves, close ties to his family, and a birthday on Reaping Day, 16-year-old Hamish soon finds himself called for the games and shuttling toward the capital with 3 other tributes from District 12.
I mean, it sounds super interesting. I mean, it sounds like it's exciting. I mean, it's sold a lot of books, so it's got to be interesting.
Right. So there is another prequel, which seems kind of crazy to say that the author already wrote a prequel and then was like, hey, we'll have another one. Because that first one took place 50 years before, and this one is 24 years before. So just a very different vibe for this one. But I think if you're a Hunger Games fan, you will end up enjoying this one.
That's your hope, that I can become a Hunger Games fan.
So maybe after you read this one, you'll want to whiz through the other 3 and,
No big deal. There's only, 4 more?
Right. There's just a couple books. So we can talk about the author, Suzanne Collins. What do we know about her?
All right. So she began her professional career in children's television. She worked on several shows with Nickelodeon, as well as some younger preschool viewers. And what'd you say, Little Bear and Oswald? I do know one of the shows. Clarissa Explains It All.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that show. And The Mystery Files of Shelby Woo. And mind you, her books have sold over 100 million copies worldwide.
Yeah, why didn't you buy one?
Well, I was not one of the 100 million, okay? I'm over on the other 100 million.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay, so The Hunger Games first came out in 2008, and she put out a new book every year for the trilogy. So 2008, 2009, and 2010. And then the movies started coming in 2012. And again, those started coming every year. So there's 4 movies because they made the third book into 2 movies, and they all broke box office records. Like, it was insane. I mean, sure, I went to the movies. I went to the midnight movies. I am that person. I was there.
Well, it kills me. I'm just like, wow, she is genius to write that fast, too, because she didn't finish them in a year. She must have finished them quick because then they had a whole process before it was then released. And same with the movies. To be released every year like that, that's pretty infamous and pretty amazing.
So the last movie came out in 2015. That's Mockingjay Part 2 was 2015. And then it wasn't until 2023 that the movie for the prequel came out, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. And this one's being made into a movie, and we shall see that next year, 2026.
Wow.
Right?
I mean, the book hasn't even been out that long, and it's already being made into a movie.
They know it's a big deal. I feel like we're going to have to go and have a movie marathon.
I mean,
maybe that's how we catch you up on this.
Maybe that's the easiest way to catch me up. But yeah, sounds great.
Apparently there's also going to be a theatrical adaptation as well. That's starting in London this fall.
Oh, wow. That's really cool.
Sounds bougie.
Sounds super bougie.
I don't know how you do that on a stage, although I guess I haven't seen a lot of theater performances, but they're like running around out in the wild, so that's going to take quite the
scenery and the background people they are the stars of the show. They've got to be, because they're probably ever changing sides and backgrounds and trees and moving constantly. Yeah.
Yes. I can only imagine. So we're going to look at the ratings that this book has already gotten. Like we've said, it came out less than a month ago at the time we're recording this. And it has a 4.72 on Goodreads, which is that's amazing review. And there's already been more than 100,000 people who've rated it, nearly 40,000 reviews, and almost all of them 5 stars.
Can I just say, and this is for the other listeners that have never, I wouldn't, if I hadn't already read, I wouldn't go pick this up normally. Right. So part of me goes, this is the other side of it. Part of me's like, oh, they're a little skewed because they're obviously already fans.
Right. 100%. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Like, there's a reason why it's all 4 and 5 star reviews, because the only people picking this up already love this writing.
Right.
So we already love this world. So that just excites me to jump back into it and bring back all of those feelings and stories and things, because 2008, I read these in college. Like, I remember, I don't know if that's what we talk about in this episode, but I think it is. My stepsister is a middle school librarian, and she's a lot older than me. So when I was in middle school, she was already working. She recommended Harry Potter to me. She recommended Twilight to me. She recommended Hunger Games to me. So I started to recognize her recommendations as powerful and signs of, like, this is going to be a big book. So when she told me in 2008, she may have told me later. I feel like I was close to when the second book came out, but I still had to wait for it. So I think it was somewhere between 2008 and 2009 when I read the first one. And then I was hooked. And like I said, the midnight release, going to the movies, it was a big, big deal. So this one holds a really fun place in my heart. And any chance to jump back into the arena, back into the Hunger Games, is really fun for me.
Well, I think, and part of the reason why I'm not going to read any of the past books is because I don't want to scare off anyone who has never read it. So I want them to understand, I'm going to resonate with you. I'm not going to know any history either. And so understanding, if you are a huge Hunger Games fan, my perspective is not going to be with all that history.
But it will be interesting. Because I'm excited to hear your take on things, because you're already looking at me like I'm crazy with some of the names that I've brought up. I'm like, what is happening in this world? Yes.
It's a world. Literally, it is.
I printed out a map. You'll see. It's fun.
Well, I'm excited to hear a lot of that take, a lot of the bonus, which, let's be honest, the bonus is mainly going to be you because I don't have the background. I don't know a lot of that history, but it's going to be really good for myself and our listeners to get a lot of that background. So that way it kind of catches us up and like a quick way to go, all right, at least this is the surface of what you need to know going into this prequel.
Right. Yeah, just like that. So I'm going to show you, Tamara had a 5-star review. 5 stars. Only Suzanne Collins could make me cry 30 pages into a book and then end up hyperventilating by the end of it. And that makes me so happy. I'm just waiting. And I didn't even try to find a 1-star review. So I have another 5-star review because it's just amazing. Reading Sunrise on the Reaping. This is from Esta. She said, it felt like willingly walking into a chainsaw. I knew how this story ended because we've met Haymitch in the Hunger Games, and our sweet summer child is a walking pile of PTSD and liquor bottles. But knowing didn't help. It just made every moment of camaraderie, his infinite capacity to love, and every tiny spark of resistance feel even more tragic. Worst book hangover of my life. 11 out of 10, and wondering if I will ever feel joy again.
I don't know if I would ever willingly walk into a chainsaw. What a description. I'm very interested to read this book.
Because we meet Haymitch in the books. And so, like she said, he is definitely an alcoholic and is just this surly character. And we're meeting him as a 16-year-old. So it's his backstory, and it's going to be so good. What did you find?
All right, so I found a 5-star from Ellie. She said, I have managed to read this book in a span of 2 days. Out of all the 5 Hunger Games books, this was by far my favorite and the most difficult to put down. 5 stars, no doubt. I loved it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Favorite out of all of them.
That's good to know because that's the only one I'm going to read. All right, and so for me to find a 1-star, let me just say, there was only 174 1-star reviews. And so to find a 1-star was really hard. So I didn't really resonate with a lot of those 1 stars. So I found a 2-star. And so from MB, they said the book was good, but the author definitely rode the coattails of Edgar Allan Poe, and that's really disappointing. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely love Poe, but I would have liked to hear an actual novel.
How does Edgar Allan Poe fit into this?
I don't know. MB thinks they do.
Right.
And I have no idea.
I'm trying to think of some Edgar Allan Poe poetry. Can you think of anything off the top of your head?
No.
Nevermore, says the raven. Quoth the raven. That's him, right?
That's it. Yeah, there you go.
All right. Well, I'm curious to see how that's going to play in.
I'm actually a little bit excited about reading it only because there's so much hype. And it's like, all right, what's the hype all about? I mean, like I've told you, my sister is a huge fan of these books. And so she's excited for my perspective as well. And so I'm really like, all right, I told her I'm not reading, just like I told you, I'm not reading it in the back. We're going to get a little bit of that bonus episode for those of you who are like me that have lived under a rock for how many years?
A lot, since 2008.
Yeah,
almost 20 years.
A long time. And so you're going to give us a lot of backstory, and I'm excited to hear about that, so that way I'm ready to read this book.
Okay, I do have one final question to ask you as our little fun ending thing. You're not really a YA person, but is there a childhood or like teenage book that really made a lasting impact on you? So the one YA book, and it was a trilogy, that I actually enjoyed was Twilight. Okay.
So there was a lot in Twilight. I flew through those.
Yep.
So I got through those books, and then I feel like I, right after that, picked up a James Patterson book and quickly switched.
Never looked back at young adult. Okay.
Yes. So
I don't understand. I don't know if I'm just crazy and I just still identify as a young adult, because I don't think there's anything missing from young adult fiction. And like, what sets it apart from adult fiction? Is it just swearing and sex scenes? Like,
I guess.
What's the difference?
Maybe the cleanliness in it.
Yeah. I mean, it is focusing on younger characters.
Well, you've got to understand the psyche of younger individuals versus adults, right? Our things that are entertaining versus their things that are entertaining are significantly different.
Yeah. And I think in the Hunger Games, the kids are all teenagers, but they're forced to take on a very serious, I mean, it's a game to the death, a fight to the death, and that's very mature. And so this is one of those books that I made my son read before I would let him watch the movie. So as an 11-year-old, he wanted to watch the movie, and I said, nope, you got to read the book first, Hunger Games. And so he wants to continue and read the rest of them, but because it is mature content, I don't feel comfortable with him just jumping into the movie.
Yeah. I do know that I've heard a lot of people say, and mind you, this is coming from someone who has not read the books, that they will say a lot of the movies, they did play it up more so in the theatrics, where the book had more details to what was going on in their heads. And so they said, as I will actually always say, the books are always better.
Right. I think we talked about that even with some of the psychological thrillers, because you're inside the head of the character. And in a movie, they have to do that with dialogue. And in the Hunger Games, she's out in the middle of the woods hunting people and can't be talking. So, like, how do you hear what's going on inside her head? I don't know, but they do it, and it's amazing, and you should watch, and you should read, and it'll be great.
Well, I just want to say happy birthday, and you're going to push me with this one. This is pushing me way outside my comfort zone, and so here we go.
Yep. If you are interested in kind of our little, not even a deep dive, but we're just going to do a Hunger Games recap. We're going to just kind of touch on what's happening in the books and maybe what happened in the prequel, the first prequel, so that you have a better general understanding. There will be spoilers. I mean, again, if you've been living under a rock and don't know anything that happens, there will be spoilers. But we're going to give you a bonus episode that's going to go a little deeper and do a little Hunger Games rewind.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to it.
All right.
All right. See you there.
Okay, the episode is over. Get reading.
But before you go, like, review, and subscribe.
Turn on notifications to get the alert when the full episode drops.
Follow us on Instagram and Facebook to see what we're reading next and join the conversation.
We're so excited to have you on board.